With the new season upon us, the 2020 draft class have received their rookie extensions, with the likes of Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, and LaMelo Ball being amongst the highest paid as they are set to make over $200 million. But several notable players and draft picks did not get an extension, resulting in impeding 2024 free agency. So let's discuss the 8 most notable players who will likely enter restricted free agency in 2024. Tyrese Maxey is inarguably the biggest name on this list, and the biggest name who will be hitting restricted free agency next summer. However, he's also the player on this list who is the least likely to leave his current team. Maxey is a high-level starter, having already averaged 20 points a game last season, and he's continued to make significant improvements as a three-point shooter. It is quite likely that Maxey will get a rookie max or very close to a rookie max deal next offseason. So you may ask, why didn't the 76ers simply give him this extension this offseason if the money's nearly a guarantee and the fact he's going to return to Philly is nearly a guarantee? Financial flexibility is why. Heading into the 2024 offseason, the 76ers' only guaranteed contracts are Joel Embiid and PJ Tucker, meaning the 76ers have plenty of cap space if they decide to move off of Tobias Harris, aka not re-sign him, and go shopping in free agency for the likes of Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby as an upgrade as their third option instead of Tobias. Not extending Tyrese Maxey means that heading into next offseason, until he signs his new deal, he will only have a cap hit of $13 million when compared to the well over $30 or even close to $40 million he likely would have gotten on an extension. The 76ers have opted to keep more flexibility for next offseason instead, but will no doubt give Maxey a bag next summer once they're done making their splash in free agency. Precious Achiuwa is a player with plenty of uncertainty heading into the last year of his rookie deal. The Raptors enter this year with nearly half their roster set to become free agents, and Achiuwa is no exception to that. Precious has had some great moments in the NBA. He can legitimately guard 1 through 5, one of the few in the league who can actually do so, has shown great rebounding skills, and has even improved his three-point shooting. Unfortunately, Achiuwa has struggled with consistency. Some nights the elite defense we know he can bring doesn't show up, or he becomes careless and picks up sloppy fouls. It also doesn't help that his best basketball was played towards and through the end of the 2021-22 season, where he played great in the postseason against the 76ers and became a very respectable three-point shooter. The problem is we have not seen that level of production since then. It's been over 12 months now since we've seen that level of Precious Achiuwa. In a year where the Raptors bench is likely to be more relied on thanks to Nick Nurse being out of town, this is a big prove-it season for Achiuwa. If he plays well, he almost certainly returns to Toronto as a key bench piece. But another subpar season, and next summer brings a lot more uncertainty. Saddiq Bey not locking down an extension is not shocking given multiple reasons. Firstly, he only played 25 games plus the playoffs last year with the Hawks, and the Hawks acquired a new head coach in Quinn Snyder late last season. Combine that with the fact longtime starting power forward John Collins is out, and Saddiq Bey, Jalen Johnson, and AJ Griffin are all now fighting for forward minutes next to DeAndre Hunter, and there's a lot to play for and a lot of uncertainty over what his role will be long-term in this organization. The uncertainty over his role, his production, and the ongoing evaluation with the new head coach and organization, and there's going to be a little bit more time needed before Bey gets his bag. Undoubtedly, whether it's the Hawks or otherwise, Saddiq will get a bag from someone. He's a career 36% three-point shooter on over 6 attempts a night and shot 40% from 3 last year once joining the Hawks, and that in and of itself will be a valuable bargaining chip next summer in restricted free agency. And unless all things fall apart, I expect he's back in Atlanta. Isaac Okoro is the opposite. He's been in Cleveland his entire career. He's a great defender, but his biggest problem restricting his role continues to be the three-point shot. Over the last 2 seasons of last season, he began to shoot it at a pretty good clip and finished the year over 36%. Teams still weren't respecting him. In turn, he wasn't generating any spacing, but at least he was hitting them down. Ultimately, that did not carry over to the postseason as he looked awkward on the offensive end, and despite their need for his perimeter defense, their need for spacing and shooting was greater as he drifted out of the rotation. Now, the Cavs re-signed Karis LeVert and brought in Max Strus this offseason, so it looks like Okoro is going to be off of the bench for the foreseeable future when everyone is healthy. Now, Okoro did start game 1 of the year, but Jarrett Allen was out, so there's an exception. With Mitchell and Garland starting, their defense on the perimeter is limited, so despite having Mobley and Allen, they may need to bring back Isaac Okoro. Unfortunately, also due to having Mobley and Allen, the Cavaliers basically need everyone else to be a good spacer and three-point shooter, and unless drastic improvements have occurred over the offseason, Okoro is simply not that. Now, Okoro could come back for a deal worth near the mid-level exception for a few years to play good defense, but don't be shocked if it's his last year in Cleveland either. The Cavs could go multiple ways with the future of Isaac Okoro. Obi Toppin is new to Indiana, and after some tumultuous times in New York, it made sense for Obi Toppin to be playing for a contract heading into this season. The Pacers may not have wanted to commit to a new player with mixed results in New York, and Obi Toppin very well may be betting on himself in a new environment and likely a greater role as he projects to be the Pacers' starting power forward, and even more specifically, the starting power forward next to one of the game's best passers in Tyrese Halliburton. Expect the cutting, pick and roll, and lob threat of Toppin to be put on serious display next to Tyrese, and that alone could be enough to get him a serious payday. Toppin has continued to improve as a three-point shooter, and that's another facet of his game that could improve next to Tyrese. Obi was taken 9th overall for a reason, and he's been brought up in MIP talks this year for a reason. The Pacers could be giving Toppin a very deserved bag next offseason. Patrick Williams is an interesting free agent heading into next summer, and probably the most surprising guy on this list to have not gotten an extension. Reports from his camp have already come out indicating that he wanted a yearly average that starts with a 2, and it ain't 20, meaning he likely wanted more in the mid to high 20s range, but that's about what Jaden McDaniels got, and Jaden McDaniels at this point is higher caliber than Patrick Williams, so it's a tough ask. Williams has been a good wing defender and has been a very efficient three-point shooter on limited volume, but he's not a high-volume three-point shooter. He doesn't have great shot creation, and although he is a good defender, at least up to this point, he has not been in the elite top tier of wing defenders in the NBA. Now, at only 22 and as the 4th pick in the draft, and missing significant time during his second season in the league thanks to that hand injury, there's still hope that this is the breakout season for Patrick Williams. But this year will impact his contract significantly going into next summer, as it could range upwards of 15 to 20 mil annually, solely based off this season, depending on if he really underperforms or if he does have that breakout season. James Wiseman may not be one of the best 8 players entering restricted free agency next summer, or at least potentially entering restricted free agency next summer, but he had to be discussed due to being the 2nd overall pick in the class. Wiseman has had a tough start to life in the NBA. Of course, he was plagued with injuries and struggled to fit in to a dynasty in Golden State, and Wiseman just never really got comfortable. Now in Detroit, he's shown improvement as far as rebounding goes and has certainly had good touch around the rim, but there's still a lot of question marks around Wiseman going into his 4th year in the league. Can he stay out of foul trouble? Can his decision-making improve? Can his defense improve? Can he stay consistent? And can he remain healthy for an entire season? It's a lot of questions, but those are all things Wiseman has to answer this season. On a team where in Detroit, his role off the bench is not secured even from the start of the year, never mind if he gets an opportunity and he falters. Wiseman will continue to get another contract from someone after this season, simply because he had that level of upside going into the league and was the 2nd overall pick for a reason. But it could certainly be outside of Detroit, and it may not be for very much depending on how he answers those questions. And arguably the most interesting name in restricted free agency heading into next offseason is Emmanuel Quickley. He was the runner-up last year for 6th Man of the Year, and deservedly so. He's a good shot creator and fine playmaker, whilst playing at an all-defensive team level on the other end of the floor. Another good or even improved season from Quickley, and he'll be demanding $25+ million a year next summer, and deservedly so. With Randall, Barrett, Brunson, Hart, Robinson, DiVincenzo all under contract going into next season, the Knicks already have plenty of money tied up, and they may not be willing to commit so much money to Quickley. He's good enough to be a starter somewhere in the league if he desires a change from the 6th man role, and he certainly deserves to get a bag next offseason, whether it's from the Knicks or otherwise. If the Knicks aren't willing to commit to it, which is very possible, it's quite likely Quickley is involved in a sign and trade and will not be in a Knicks uniform next season. Those are my 8 most notable restricted free agents heading into next season, but let me know yours in the comments. Make your predictions, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.